Today I want to talk about our human origins. Now we know about star children and the different systems like Andromedan and Syrian and so forth and so on, but how do we know where we fall and who we are if we come from those places? Where do we come from specifically? So I'm going to start off with me. I've always known that I was different. And when I was younger, I've heard someone say the term star child, not knowing what it was. You're a kid, 5, 6, 7, 8. You don't know what the fuck that means. So now just sitting randomly thinking about myself. Well, this is what Leo does. But I've always been different. I've always been, fuck it, like smarter than everyone else. And a higher level of intelligence and intuitiveness. When I was a kid, I used to see dead people. Not used to. I still do. Those motherfuckers come to me and talk to me like we homies on the street or some shit. But then, not knowing what it was, I would say to an adult, like, hey, there's so-and-so, or who's that? I don't know who that is. And, they'll look, oh, it must be your imagination. Okay. But they never stopped coming. So, after one aunt died, I knew that I was different. So, the night before she died, I had this woman walk past my bedroom door, look in, and walk back past it. There was a bathroom going further, and then another bedroom. She walked past my door, past the bathroom, and went straight, which was the end of the hall. And I'm like, who? So I got up to see, and of course that person wasn't there. So, I didn't know what that was. So, the very next day, I was told that my aunt died. And it was at that point that I knew that I was seeing dead people. Because prior to that was the gentleman that I saw, and I brought that up. Oh, your imagination. All types of people coming to me that I didn't know. And they're like, I don't know what you're talking about. And I'm like, fuck, like, I know I'm not fucking crazy. Again, you're a kid, you don't know. In school, I was always, principal's list, first, second, awards for academics, things like that. I was told, probably in middle school, by my mom that they wanted to skip me multiple times in multiple grades in elementary school. And I couldn't understand why she wouldn't allow me to go there. Like, her reasoning was she didn't want me to be out of the, I guess, the area of the kids that I was around, that I grew up with. And I'm like, fuck them hoes. I want to move on. I'm sitting here bored in class, getting A's all the fucking time, being bullied because I was smart. I'm like, this shit is torture. I understand you want me to be with my age group and all of that shit, but I don't mind being, with 15 or 16-year-olds at 10. Who gives a shit? But, here we are. So it was just so many things. The one thing, I've never been an artist. I can't draw for shit. But the one thing I do remember drawing constantly without any issue, just I could do it with my eyes closed, was a star. And this particular star, and the way I drew it, looks exactly like what people see as a pentagram. Not the circle around it, but the star. I've always drawn that. Never knew why. It was the only thing I could draw. Even to this day. Like, stick figures, terrible looking. They don't even look like stick figures. But the star, I could do it all day long. Again, these are little things that just let me know when I was younger that this shit here is not it. Growing older, understanding what my gifts were and where they came from. Once I reached of age, my aunt, my mom explained to me that I'm special, as are the majority of the women on the maternal side of my family. All of us had these special gifts. Now, I mentioned, I don't really talk about it a lot, but I mentioned a couple of times here and there about that and those experiences. Even to this day, people still doubt that shit. Like, I've told you when so-and-so was going to die, and that so-and-so came to me after they died and said this for you. People still doubt that shit. And it's especially this bad in public. Like, that's why I don't tell people who don't have this shit don't know what it's like. Just like being deaf. Hearing people don't know what it's like to not be able to hear. You know, to have allergies and your ears clogged up and shit like that, that's one thing. But it's not the same as not being able to hear at all. So, all of these things factor into who I am. Like, I may be deaf in this ear, but all I hear are ethereal voices. Not, some shit telling me to go kill somebody or anything like that. That's what psychology tries to tell you. It's not that. Like, I hear all types of messages and all types of things, and it's what helps me do the job that I do with helping others. Now, if I'm sitting across from someone or on a video call, video appointment, and I'm looking at these people, I can see the truth, and I can hear what's behind the voice that they're speaking through. Like, people's souls speak to me. I don't need to hear what the fuck you have to say out of your mouth specifically, but it's how you say it, what you say, and so forth and so on, that I get the information from your soul. And it's always exactly what it is, because your soul doesn't lie. It's us. We create that shit. Anyway, it's how I connect with people to their soul. So I'm looking at these people, and their soul is telling me what I need to hear, while they're spouting off whatever the fuck. I'm like, all right, bitch, here's your problem. And then they're like, how the fuck did you know that? That's irrelevant. We're talking about you and your issues. Just know that it's what makes me good at this job. So, people have opened up to that, but it's just, of course, these people. If you have a child that's gifted or has an affinity for something, feed into that. Support that, whatever it is, no matter what it is. That's them communicating to you that this is something intrinsic, and it's something that you're not going to understand. It's not for you to understand, as long as they're not like, hey, I want to be a serial killer, sociopath, all of those things. All right, we get it. You need to be locked away for a little bit. But, someone that wants to play a particular instrument, some people, old-fashioned parents and grandparents are like, that's not a real job, or unless you have a contract now. It doesn't matter. Like, things that are of the mind, creativity, those things are our souls reaching out to the world, to communicate to the world. Like, music is, verbal and on, art, all of those things are coming from the very basis of our consciousness being put out into the world. So don't ever slight your child that, ever, no matter what it is or what your personal feelings are. It's not your life, and you don't know how impactful that will be, negative and positive. If you don't feed into it, it's going to be negative. They're going to go around feeling that the one thing that's innate in them, that's creative and so forth and so on, you're telling them that's wrong and that it's not okay to do, or they can't make a living doing that. That's obviously not true. If you're really good at it and that's supposed to be what you're supposed to do here, to touch other people, do that shit. Fuck the naysayers. Do what's on your heart, always. People just fucking disgust me. But moving along, we want to think about ourselves, where we come from. We always say little sayings like reach for the stars or the sky's the limit, things like that. Where did they come from? How did they originate? We always want to know more. We want to know what's out there. That's why we have astronauts and, cosmic engineers and things like that go out there and find out. Because it's where we are. We always want to reach higher. And higher is the heavens and the sky and the universe, the cosmos, all of that's out there. So why is it such a thing to have our head in the clouds? Why is it such a bad thing to do that? I know it's what that means, but all of these things that are words reaching to the stars and there for that hope and that positive, that growth. All of those things from there. Have we thought about these things? Why it's always there, Why higher is better. We don't want to be low and, all of those things because there's no greatness there. That's the idea that it's putting, into our minds and into our psyche and subconscious. In our dreams, we do that. We reach for the stars. We do the things that we are told not to do. So, getting deeper into this, there's a few things. Let's look at the human side of it, our physiology. Our circadian rhythm is set for, daytime we're active, nighttime we're not. Of course, people have night jobs and all that other shit, but the body still works on that 24-hour system. We still need to have X amount of hours per, for sleep and all those things. And it's a down, dark, slow time. And, of course, when we're up and we're out in the world, it's an up, active time. So it's the same with winter and summer, as well as our bodies. Now, what I mean by that is, of course, we have that seasonal depression most of the time. It's in the winter. Our bodies slow up. It's kind of like hibernation mode. We're entering in when the sun disappears from our hemisphere. So with those things, and what I'm getting to is where we come from, the stars that we come from. If we think about other areas, let's say Mars, we'll choose Mars. It's easier to explain. The daily revolution, like we do 24 hours here on Earth. The sun, the moon, and all that, and coming back to the sun. It takes 24.9 hours on Mars for that revolution to happen, to complete. When we are, let's say scientists or astronauts or whatever are on it or are in space or on it, our bodies change, sometimes molecularly. We end up with, let's say, okay, so we have fat. We have two different types of fats, a good fat and a bad fat. So when, in the summertime, and this is kind of going back to the hibernation point, we're active. The sun brings us, shit. Who doesn't want to be out in the sun? In the wintertime, everyone slows down. Again, we're heading to hibernation mode. But do we not gain more weight during that time because of the sedentary activities and things? We aren't as mobile. And it's also colder. Now, in other atmospheres, let's say back on Mars, where the atmosphere is roughly 67 or so degrees, which of course is moving up to the higher temps, that bad fat doesn't exist. It doesn't happen. It kind of makes you think, like, okay, so when it's 67 degrees or higher, we tend to be more active and we burn fat more. But when we're not, and when the temperatures are lower, we gain that fat. Yes, we're fat bitches in America, and we eat. We get that. Thanksgiving, Christmas, all the holidays, all that shit. And we're not moving as much. Okay, we get that. But why is it that way? Like, an actual reason why it's that way. Like, why? Science can't really explain that. Why on, let's say, another planet, astronauts were losing this weight and their body fat content was different as opposed to here. So this brings me to the biggest part. All right, so this is what's called third Earth, or a different Earth. We have multiple layers below us where different types of species of humans and other types of living organisms are purported to be surviving there. And that's where as catastrophes and things happened over millennia, this is where they retreated to. Where else would you be protected from a great firestorm or, a nuclear winter or something like that? Underground, right? Okay. Well, you don't always come out of that in a day, a week, or so. Sometimes you get stuck under there if everything still looks the same as it was when you first went in. So then it's also brought up that these people surface and they came and they interacted and interbred with our generation of human beings. And it makes you wonder, these people that are, like, that have atavism, people that are also different and look different. Where do they come from? They aren't anomalies. Their genetic makeup is still similar, but they have one part, and this is the atavism part of it. It's historic genes, ancient genes that have shown up in this generation of human beings, which is very rare, but it happens. Just like we see the kids with, tails and these different, cultures that have had very special beings. Not even maybe 5-10 years ago, we had a story that came out of, I believe it was India, where there was a child that resembled Vishnu, and people were coming and praying to this child that was born with multiple legs everywhere. And it was a beautiful thing, but definitely an eye-opening thing. Like, this is a child that's resembling an actual god. But maybe back when the stories were written, mythology in that area, maybe it was what they thought it would, because this particular individual didn't look like everyone else, that they were a god. Maybe they had those special powers. Maybe they were just different, and they didn't know what else to call them. Because people who are different have special features or special whatever that makes them different, on top of the abilities that come with it. The intelligence is a little higher. And that's why I try to get people to understand that just because there's a person that's developmentally disabled does not mean that they're not special at all. Whatever that special thing is, it's working with the genetics that we have now. Who's to say that maybe another 1,000 years from now we're completely different, that it wouldn't be a perfect thing at that point. It's something that's more commonplace. We don't know. We just take our ignorant guesses on the shit. But it just makes me think about those times when I was coming up, and I always felt a bad different. Now I'm glad to be different. I don't want to be like y'all motherfuckers at all. But here we are. It's becoming more commonplace to talk about the stars than it is not. We have this space race and all this shit that everybody's heard of, so it's not as, far-fetched or sci-fi and so forth and so on. So, over my years, I've researched and researched. I didn't have anybody teaching me these things. I just had to learn and wing it, just like the women before me had to do. And before it was all over, a lot of them were coming to me. Like, those who have passed on, the women that have passed on in my family. There's one left. And I haven't been able to reach out to her or reach her. But I need to. I tried, but, family is shit. So they make it more difficult than it needs to be. Unfortunately, the person lives in another state. So I can't just pop up over there. I would have to really make, the time and all of that work so that I can go to that state as well as spend time. But, so in my research over the years and learning everything I needed to learn for my specific gift, I learned that I'm from Lyra, and that was a planet that was destroyed. I'm still doing some research as to whether it was, part of the war in heaven or space war. or whatever the fuck they want to call it, or if it was a natural thing, like the death of a star and what happens during those times. I don't know yet, but I believe it was due to war. So when this planet was about to be destroyed, people left and they went to the other star seeds, left and they went to other neighboring star systems like Andromeda and all of those places. And there was some intermixing and mingling. So it brings me back to that point about people, when things mix and things evolve. As far as our biogenetics and things like that. And it just makes me think, like, damn, there are a lot of starseeds out here who are part of multiple star systems. And all of that comes together here. There's still the whole petri dish thing that people see Earth as. But I don't know. I don't see Earth so much as a petri dish, but as a new beginning. And we're, as a species, human beings are young. This planet is billions of years old. We aren't. Neither are our hominid ancestors. None of them are that old. At least not yet, that we've been able to find. We've got 40,000, 50,000 years. Somewhere around in there. I think I read somewhere maybe 100. And one time, 250,000 years ago. Again, we could be older. But I really need us to think about these things. Remember who we are. Look into our dreams and see what our dreams are telling us. Sometimes our dreams, or at least my dreams anyway, I'm seeing shit from the stars, looking down at Earth. And I feel like it's concurrent. Those dreams that I have that tells me about this shit, that has told me about all of the shit that's going on now. I was seeing these events transpire from out of Earth. That was my view. I'm looking at Earth and each continent and each area and all of the shit that's happening in it, including the pandemic and who I was going to lose. I wrote that dream down in January of 2020. There's a lot more to me than what I'm exposing. It's slowly coming out, but I can only speak in a way that I know you people would understand. If I start thinking about aliens, you know how your mother, girl, shut the fuck up. Because of something you don't know about, it doesn't make it not true or unreal. It's not sci-fi. It's not far-fetched. So, I try to be as upfront and honest about these things as I can, but I still have to give certain information in my messages. When you all evolve to certain points, then I can delve deeper into those things. But for this star situation and this star child thing, that shit's real. Just like indigo children and all of these things that we've heard in the past, and we've just called it, hippie dreams or drug induced and all of that shit. That's because we put down those barriers in our brains when we're, let's say, smoking weed, as to why they still kind of fight that shit. They don't want us to be able to see the truth, because things can't be manipulated to thinking people. But, when you're 1 of 5, it doesn't help to be vocal. That's why it's taken me so long to come out with a lot of this stuff that I say. And even now, I'm not fully saying everything that I wanted to say. Looking at my notes, I'm like, these motherfuckers ain't ready for that shit. At the same time, we need to be. You all need to be. I've already seen everything. This shit is getting... I've told people for the past 3 years that shit is about to get real. Fucking real. It's not stopping. We have how many wars going on now? We have how much these fucking... I mentioned this in past shit. Food recalls and safety recalls and all types of quality issues and things that we're... Truth is coming out now because it has to in order for us to change. Otherwise, we're going to continue down this destructive path. We need to educate ourselves on things that are deeper than we're willing to process. You know, like a lot of the things that's in the Bible that's so wrong. So wrong. Of course, you know, you have Christians, or whatever the fuck they call themselves, that rail against that shit. Anything different than what they're used to. But the problem is, they're used to wrong information. It's like people believing that, you know, slavery was a good thing, you know, during that time, like during the antebellum period. No. For you, yes, you're one-sided with that shit. You can't be killing people and then say, you know, in the name of slavery and progress, this is what we need to do. We need to kill black people. Oh, okay. That's a really shit way of thinking. Because the Bible, a book, has told you that. There's a lot of things that has been changed over millennia. Things that weren't original. And there's shit that's been so fucking left out. It's ridiculous. Like, damn, even Mary Magdalene had her own damn book. Why would a woman ever be in the Bible? We can't have that, says the patriarchy. We'll make sure that they're seen as material. We'll make sure they're in there in that respect. Right? So here it is, thousands of years later, women are still viewed as property and tools. Not greater than what we really are, or what we think we really are. We're fucking better. And it's why when people have power, it is automatic in this version of humanity for us to want that power, to do everything we can to take that power away from other people because we don't think they deserve it, and things of that nature. We have always been greater, but what do people do with things when they're butthurt about things? They try to eradicate it or cancel it and all that other shit. So, ladies out there, get on your high motherfucking horse and never dismount. So, back to being stars. We're all stars. We aren't indigenous to this planet. We aren't indigenous to one. We are part of this entire solar system, this universe. Each and every one of us, we come from different places. It's why there's such a mix of us. It's why. Like, it's common fucking sense. And once again, people who just don't use their brain or don't have one don't see things that way. We're all made to be different, but we come from the same cloth. You know? We're all weaved into the same web. So I must change this. But in those respects, we have to open our minds to the greater things that are out there. Where we come from. The place that we're supposed to be going. You know, we're destroying this planet. We've already destroyed Mars. We've already destroyed other planets. We're doing that again. And it's why, as I said in a podcast, couldn't tell you which episode, I think all of them. And in my book, I mentioned that shit. Like, we're here destroying this shit and looking for somewhere else to colonize and fuck that up too. So we're just repeating these cycles repeatedly because we can't seem to get our shit together. And it's not even we. It's a handful of people that are directing all of this shit. And it's not even the councilman. Of course, you have individuals that always have their own agendas. But in the grand scheme of things, everything that we know, 90% of everything that we know is wrong. All the way wrong. Anything that detests other human beings, detests knowledge, detests people doing their own thing, it comes from a very limited amount of intelligence. I'll say that in a nice way. I mean, I say it that way because people that I'm speaking about wouldn't even understand that and know that they were being insulted. That's how bad it is. These are the people that have been moving our norms and cultures and shit like that. These are the people that we're following. That's why nothing makes sense. It's why people are just so we're fucked up. And we gotta try to dismantle and ameliorate this shit before we put it back together. And it starts with the individual. Each and every one of us needs to do that shit. There's healing we need to do. There's some learning we need to do. There's some opening our minds that we need to do. All of that shit applies. So, this light is very fucking bright. Let me fucking put this shit down. Because, oh my god, that's worse. That's even worse. So it was already on low. Okay. So we're going to stay there. We'll say that one's fine. Meanwhile. But. we have to get out of this. Because we have to get out of this. We're going to end up destroying Earth if we don't kill each other. Suppose a nuclear war happens. For those of us who survive, we won't be able to live here. We won't be able to survive on this surface because it would be so toxic and radioactive. Think about Chernobyl. There's not a thing living there except mutations. Not necessarily good ones. But that's the thing. Like, we don't think about that shit. People that are warmongers, people who could kill and not worry about that shit. Even loved ones. People who can kill their parents and, well, that I can understand. But people who can kill just anybody, they shouldn't be a part of this humanity at all. And I'm talking about these same people who can feel okay with having collateral damage of innocent millions, hundreds of thousands of innocent people. One person is too many of innocent people and their lives, kids. What was it? Last week, I was looking at the news on CNN and they were talking about what's going on in Gaza. This little boy was crying so damn hard. Like, none of that shit. He was like screaming. He wasn't bloody or in pain or anything. It was just the terror of all of that shit. People everywhere around him, bloody and pieces, and this was a boy, no more than 8 or 10, and he's, they interviewed him and he was just crying like, I can't, this shit doesn't make any sense. I can't find my parents. He's articulate for a child his age and in so much pain, man. That shit hurts. So I couldn't even watch the rest of that shit. I don't like seeing people. I don't like seeing people in pain at all. And unnecessary pain like that hurts more. So we have to change. We have to remember the real shit. If we have to tap into our subconscious, whatever the fuck we have to do, we have to remember who we are and how we got here. We got here because of the same shit. We're all here because of the same dumbass shit. War. Greed. Destruction. Because of those two things. So in order for us to go back, we have to remember where we're from. We have to remember who each other is. That we're all in this together. because we're all different versions of where we've come from. But we're all in the same, we're refugees. We're all in this is why, that's another thing that pisses me off, when people are coming here to feel safe and be okay and raise their family. We shun them away. Like, unless you go through the 15, 20-year process of becoming a citizen, the expensive process of becoming a citizen, that nobody wants to do that. I wouldn't. Shit, if I wasn't from here, you really think I would want to come here? Especially being a black woman. Fuck you. And your country. I'd rather stay here with these child fucking murderers, child soldiers and shit. I'll take my chances. Sorry. I just leaned over for a second. Like, I'm just so... Just the thought of that shit just gets under my skin. It bothers me. But anyway, we have to remember where we are. Like, where we are, where we've come from, and where we're supposed to be going. Because this shit here now is accelerated. It's going to push us where we're supposed to go. And none of us are ready for that shit. We're definitely not ready for it. So you have to get your shit together. It's more than just, doing some soul searching. No. Absolutely not. You have to change your entire being. Your thought processes. Your belief system. Challenging religion is going to be the hardest part for a lot of fucking people, especially those who feel they're privileged. And that's what Christianity is. Privileged people. Yeah. The same people who are trying to change history, eradicate it, take it out of schools, and tell people what they can and can't do with their lives. The same people that are probably criminals and politicians. Same thing to me, really. We gotta change. Like Michael Jackson said, man in the mirror, we gotta make a change. Because we are the world. Every last one of us. One thing I want to add that I really haven't dug into, because it's only really been a year, but these scars you see on my face, here, and here, connected, was from the explosion I was in last year. And I remember nothing about the explosion except one thing: my death. During that time, I remember getting up from my body, looking back at it like, girl, I'm good. Haul ass my ass, and then I got stopped. It was a whole field of people, entities and beings, humanoid shape. But the only people I could see were the ones immediately in front of me. Two of which were my loved ones. One, my mom, and two, the woman who raised me. To some people, they're one and the same. To this bitch, it is not. Anyway, I remember arguing with these motherfuckers. Like, look, bitch, I'm not going back there. I'm not. These people are insane. They're crazy. No, shit, you jump in it and go and fix this shit. They looked at me like, you finished? Okay. Whole ass. Like, no, bitch, I'm not. You need to give me a fucking reason and blah, blah, blah. I'm arguing back and forth with these motherfuckers until I stomped away in a temper tantrum and got back in. And that's when I came back. I'm like... So... people were like, you were mean as shit in the hospital. I'm like, because I'm here. There's nothing here I want to experience or be near. But it was at that time that I came back with a lot of information. Information I already pretty much knew about, but more shit. So I incorporated into my work and, well, now my videos. And I'll be coming out with a little bit more at a time. So while I was dead those few minutes, I was arguing with these motherfuckers that I have to come back. But apparently I'm the only one that's willing to take on this fucked up job of trying to help you bitches out. So I'm here, but I'm gonna enjoy this shit while I'm here. So fuck you, people. I'm still gonna enjoy my life. And we all should be that way. It should be no different. You know, like, I should be dead. For the second time. Because this is not the first time that I passed on. But each time I did come back with privileged information. Esoteric information. That nobody understands right now. No one. Nor did they the last time. Nobody can understand this shit. But I do. So it helps me move better throughout the world. And teach. So, I need y'all to know that. Like, I'm not just spouting information off. This is shit that I learned, and I have this face because it's like trying to fucking talk to you people is like trying to talk to this fucking wall back here and expecting a fucking intelligent answer back. Oh, girl. Anyway, that I really needed you all to know. Like, I was really fucked up. My entire brain, like, the right hemisphere was like, I'm on vacation, sipping on this little drink here. I'll be back when I come back. And that's how it's been. I mean, it's back and doing what it's supposed to do. But, again, the information that I'm supposed to convey to you all, a lot of you all aren't ready for. Shit, some of it is new to me. I'm like, oh, really? That's what the fuck that was? Oh, okay, I understand. But I can't convey it to you. Just know that the information is real. And it comes from a real place. Not a Bible, not some God, not any of this shit. It comes from where we came from. You can figure out where that is on your own. When you learn, read, educate yourself, and be open to different ideas. Science just explains shit. It doesn't give you meaning. Think about that shit. Just having an explanation doesn't give you meaning. You need to know the real explanation and what's really going on.